we're all here.
We are here.
Are here.
Very exciting. Farm Spotlight with our good friend Kellie Parks. We see all kinds of cool people in here. Is that Hector Garcia? What?
Who's that guy?
That guy.
Jennifer Diamond.
Never heard of him. Tiffany
Kim
Stewart.
Doe. Hi, Kim. I was just talking about you.
Stewart.
Michael McClellan.
Who else? I see. Michelle Van Riper. We've been doing a few things lately too. Hi.
Tiffany
Michael
Stewart.
McClellan. Michael McClellan. Hi, guys.
It's a great group.
Hello, everyone. Wow. All
Hi,
these
Kim and Kim
wonderful
No and Ken Bostrom. You guys feel like we're romper room? You know, Miss Betty is naming off all the. We need the mirror.
I told you that people wanted to hear your tech stack. I mean, I think that that's the thing that's very fascinating to us all is what tech is working for everybody.
Huh. I love to see people's tech stacks. It's like, sneak peeking and figuring out what works for them and why it works.
Exactly.
Because I've said it a lot. It's like an amazing world out there right now for us with all of this tech to run our businesses and to run our lives. It's fabulous, but it's overwhelming in a lot of ways. And then finally, you've got to find the one that fits for you too. Just because your best friend loves it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You're different visually and you want the buttons in a different place, or you don't need the features, but you need these other features. It's really individual thing, but it's always interesting to see what people are using.
It is. You are so right. You are so right. And I think the one that always comes back to me is practice management. So practice management, there is no one size fits all tool because everybody's brains are wired differently. And, when you see the one that is the one for you, you really do have like that eureka moment. It's like, finally, I found you.
Well, and the other part too, whenever we're all weighing in is knowing that there's sometimes quirks in software and hearing somebody else go, oh, me too. I found that, but here's my solution, my workaround.
Yeah.
Yes. That's super helpful.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
It's an interesting thing, but it is a wonderful cloud-based world out there. That's for sure.
I would never, ever, never, ever want to go back.
Yeah, same.
No, thank you. I can't imagine having to put on shoes to go to work.
Well, there's that. And it's interesting.
What are shoes?
I come from my background is actually marketing. I had a marketing business for a long time, and we went cloud, like it's a drug. We went cloud a long time ago. So I've actually been working remote since 2009, but we went through all the struggles that the accounting industry has been going through the last couple of years because we had FTP sites. We went to digital proofing systems. We went into something called InDesign. And all of these things were no fun in the moment, but it was fun seeing where we were going to be. I loved not where the tech was. I loved where the tech was going to take us in the marketing world. And that's what happened for us here in the accounting world as well.
I was just having a conversation about this with someone that, we're all kind of, everybody on this call is forward thinking in the accounting industry. There's not one person on this call that does not think forward and is not interested in what's next in technology. I mean, it's the happy hour. Come on, you wouldn't be here if you weren't interested in that. But what I will say is that a huge percentage of our industry is not where we are. It's crazy to think about, but I would say there's probably 60% of our accounting firms are not digital. So it's so funny because we are in our little bubble of like thinking about the technology and trying everything out and experimenting, but we are not the norm. We're the exception. Isn't that crazy to think about?
And I'm having to hold my tongue a little bit. We have a new neighbor and he and his wife are fabulous. We are totally enjoying them, AKA they're not judging how much we drink out here on the lake that I live at. But he's a tax accountant. He's got a good size firm and they are totally in the office. They are not cloud-based. I mean, they're killing it. he's still got a good business model, and
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's doing fine, but I am not trying to push any of this on him. And it's really hard. It's really hard, but it's not my place. We're really just there to share cocktails.
And you know, they have to want to make the change. And
Things
that's
rub
the
off
thing.
on people. It's like, you know, if you're hearing your friends say, hey, come check this out, it's super, super cool, or, you know, I like this because of X, that's going to definitely help to pull those people over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And Tiffany said we need to give them grace and help coming along for this fun ride. It is fun. It is fun. And Tiffany is so right. And I'm not sure if Tiffany knows, although poor thing has to spend a lot of time with me, including in-person time. Grace is my word of the year this year. That is my word, is giving.
I'm going to do that again. I love that.
It's a great word. So giving grace to others is the big part of it, more so than giving grace to myself. I'm fine. I just need to dial it back a bit and give grace to other people a little more. Anyways, as usual, Tiffany's right.
Awesome.
Yeah. You know, that's funny because I give grace to other people. It's like sometimes I'm hardest on myself. So
Right.
I'm flip-flop, Kelly. Maybe you and I need to tag team. We can be the yin and yang.
Exactly.
Heather, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Heather Satterley. I am a CPA and the Director of Education and Media at Woodard. I am also a diehard accounting technologist. I love technology. I love discovering new ways to make lives easier. And I feel like apps and technology is like magic. And that's how I think of it. It's just like this magic that just makes things happen. And my exciting geeky self, I was telling Liz earlier, I finally got an Oculus. Oh my gosh, my mind is blown. So I have like, yeah. Oh, very
And
cool
you're going to
stuff.
have Oculus parties?
We're gonna have Oculus parties. Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing.
Okay, we'll have to play some games. I mean,
Yeah.
now I have to get one.
You're gonna have to get one. I have a date with my sister tonight. We're gonna play something. So we've bought something we're gonna go play in the metaverse. So
That's fun.
yeah.
Are you bringing it to Scaling New Heights?
Oh yes.
Fun.
I don't know that I'll have time to use it.
Right?
Who knows? Maybe at like 4 a.m.
So we see you walking around with your headgear. That's what you're doing.
Right. Walking into things.
And-
I already punched myself in the face doing boxing. So they told me I was gonna do it. And I'm like, yep, I will probably, and I did. So
That's fun.
yeah.
So I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Liz Scott, and this year our firm has migrated all of the things that we're doing to focus on our feedback that we're hearing from the accounting community. And so we are working directly with solutions. We've been doing that for years, but now the firm has just migrated completely into that space of what is it that our industry needs. The solutions want to know, they want to be able to have that feedback to tweak, to be able to be that solution that they don't know exactly how we work. And so they're usually close, but not all the way there. So it's been a very, very fun journey, and I've enjoyed this experience. So I love what I get to do. It's super fun. And being able to hang out here is definitely one of those big pleasures. We also want to thank our sponsors. So one of the things that we are doing this year that is different in years past is we are having annual sponsors that are joining us because we want to present tech stacks. That is what we want to continue as our thread throughout the year, is what tech stacks are firms using. Kelly, so grateful that you're here, that you're sharing your tech stack. We had Michelle that was on, that she shared hers. And then, you know, part of that is then realizing that there's tech out there that plays into different aspects of the business. So sometimes you have a little bit of overlap. Sometimes one person uses this solution and others use something that's comparable. But this journey that we're on through the tech and which ones is something that we all need to learn from. So we are very, very grateful for our sponsors. This slide, I have to say, is just cute. So what you're going to be seeing from time to time is when we do have one of our tech partners that we're working with and they have a special, we're going to throw it up on our daily special chart. So with our daily special, this little bar benches that you could sit at right here, we've got the daily specials of Client Hub is offering a free version of their platform, and then Cinder also has now launched their daily summary sync. So big news there.
Yeah, that's a big deal. We're so thankful to our sponsors, and it's gonna be such a great year.
I agree. And Kelly, I'm so thankful that you're here. And you have so much that you do. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, the short version is, because I got an elevator pitch, I want every accounting professional and SMB to love using cloud-based apps as much as I do. That would be the short version. And I have a micro bookkeeping firm. And in addition to monthly recurring revenue, I also take on the hot messes. And those are fun and challenging and emotional. And we're going to talk a little bit about that a little later on, but I like the hot messes. And then I sell accounting templates, workflow templates, SOPs, employee guides. What else do I sell? Client guides, any of that. And I do have a link for a discount for the Appy Hour on that. And I work with cloud technology partners. So I vet them for our community and then decide if I'm going to do some representation work. I also work in product development area and accounting speak, marketing, all kinds of things with the app partner. So that's what I'm up to.
That's awesome.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. That is a lot.
Yeah,
Very,
it's
very
cool stuff.
multi-talented.
Oh, well, thank you.
So what we're going to do is go through tech stacks, and Kelly has said that she's willing to share what she's doing and what that process is. And then we're going to highlight a couple of those. So when we're doing our firm spotlights like this, we want to be able to call out a couple of pieces of tech. So we're going to be focusing on both the external and the internal tech that's utilized. And then we'll be able to dive into some cool stuff. Kelly, thank you for sharing that. I see you put over there the templates in your web link over in chat. That way people know how to reach out to you and get those templates. So with our firm tech stacks, one of the things that I find fascinating, Kelly, and that's why I love it that you came on, is this approach to creating a plan. And because you have this very extensive background in working in marketing and accounting and some of that run over and how tech comes into play, I think that you're somebody who's perfect to see all of these different problems and be able to think about how do you evaluate what tech you use and what pace you go at.
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about this in a couple of different ways. So one of the first things that comes to mind on getting started in all of the cloud-based techs is to stop overthinking. You need to pick off the pieces. You need to have a bit of a leap of faith attitude in some of this, and you need to realize you're going to be iterating on it. So implementing some of the tech is, nobody's going to die here. And don't roll it out to all of your clients, and don't roll it out in scenarios where the fail is offsetted by the benefit, if that made any sense. You don't need to take everything on at once either. So some of the things I like to consider is, and you've got up there, create a plan to run the firm. Yeah, you should definitely have like a where you want to go. What do you want your firm to look like? What do you want the client service to look like? What kind of clients you want to work with? That plan will start to lead some of the technology you have. And then you need to, so stop overthinking some of it. Remember, some of the cloud technology is a leap of faith. We love our our KPIs and our ROEs. No, not ROEs, that's in Canada, our ROIs. We love all the three acronym things to measure success, because that's what we do for our clients in a lot of ways. But you need to let some of that go when it comes to implementing the cloud tech in your business. And you may not see that ROI right away. A lot of it is a bigger picture kind of thing. So anyways, here's my list of things that go into choosing a piece of technology. The first one is, it's not about whether your friends and colleagues are excited about it. It's about whether it's going to solve a problem that you have. They have different problems. They have different goals. So make sure that you are solving any problems that you have, or that it's moving you towards goals that you have. Will it improve a process that you already have in place, or will it distract you? Do you need to put off implementing some of these things because it's not actually going to improve any of your situations, no matter how fun your colleagues think it is? Is it going to move you forward in your processes, in your business, in your client relationships? That's always a big one. And then I like to add, will it be fun? And so Tiffany mentioned earlier in the chat there, did I use my Stream Deck to pack something in? Stream Deck is a little piece of hardware. It's got buttons, and you push the buttons and it activates things. It activates text expanders, or it opens up programs. I really didn't need it, but it was fun. It was going to be fun. So it's okay to implement some things that are fun. It's like Alexa. There she is. She runs our house. Could I run around and turn on my lights all by myself? Yes. But is Alexa fun? So I just went around in a bit of circles. I hope there was some information to be gleaned out of that.
Well, I think that the process and the evaluation is what, everybody has to come up with what's their unique thing. And you definitely have covered that. So I think that when we're thinking about the tech stack that's internal, that applies to the evaluation to what you're going to use internally. So how did you make some of your decisions, Kelly?
On what tech I was going to be using?
Yep, on your core systems and also that internal tool set.
I had to really pick off some problems that I had, some hiccups. So some of the things that is where are your biggest hiccups happening? And is there a piece of technology that could fix it? Where are your biggest time sucks? And is there a piece of technology that could fix it? And I didn't mention this in my core tech stack because I'm not sure I would call this a piece of core, but I'm about to wake Heather up and have her go, ooh. Zapier, I implemented to solve only a few problems of mine. It wasn't a big heavy lift, but what it did was solve some of the time sucking problems. I have it copy some calendar events from my default calendar into another calendar that syncs with Acuity, because what I was doing was forgetting to copy my default calendar. And so I'm going to back up the bus a little bit. If somebody sends you an invite to something in Google Calendar, it drops into your default calendar, and then you need to copy it manually into any other calendars that may relate to your scheduler. And we're going to talk about my scheduler after. You can't have your default calendar attached to your scheduler, though, the Google one, because then it's going to take all kinds of things that maybe don't relate to your scheduler. Did that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I have a Zap that copies it into my HST, into my sessions and meetings calendar that syncs up with my Acuity. So when you said, what do you want to do with some of this tech? Solve some problems. So the problem was twofold. It wasn't just a time problem. It was a remembering problem. I had to actually remember to copy over those events as well. So when you're deciding about implementing tech, you kind of have to do a matrix. How many problems is it going to solve? And what is the implementation lift going to look like? That was a really easy one to do. So it was a no-brainer to do that one. Did I answer the question there?
Yes, and I love it that you just said, how many problems is it going to solve? And that's one of the things that we're starting to see is that the solutions are expanding their features into other areas. So that reach is getting broader, which means that a lot of times our tech stacks get to shrink. And the things like what you're just talking about, Kelly, where you have to have your Google Calendar and, or have this go between patch software that then is going to send over to your Acuity. So that way your links are going to be updated when people go to try and schedule with you.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things I feel like are temporary problems. I don't
Yeah.
feel like we're going to have those kinds of problems long term. But in the meantime, it's a real problem and you came up with a solution for it.
Yeah, I think that goes back to like being somewhat of an early adopter in cloud technology. Not all of this has been figured out. And definitely, Kelly, and what you said, Liz, with the Zaps that I started building 8 years ago, I don't use probably any of them anymore because that native integration or the feature that I was looking for, the problem I was trying to solve, was solved by the applications that I was using, or I moved to another application that did more, right? Did more of the things.
So I think one of the key things is to always be iterating.
Yeah, and it's the feedback.
Definitely.
So part of that iteration, part of that growth that's being driven is based on the feedback that we're giving. So it's important to make sure that we take the time to offer that feedback. It's not criticism that is negative. It actually is something that's positively impactful.
I'm just going to add a little flavor here, but what's really interesting to me is that it used to be that, when we started, that these applications, we had to fit our businesses into these boxes because of the scarcity of having a solution. And now you can create an absolutely custom system for even the smallest business because of cloud technology, because of how far we've come, which is why it makes these, firm spotlights in the tech stack highlights just so incredibly valuable because we're able to actually see what each other has done. And I love that.
I do too. And that weighs directly over into these vendor partnerships that are so important. The feedback, the other pieces that are generated.
Yeah. And I actually, I just, can we go back a slide for a minute? When we were talking about those core systems and what are the internal tools, I mean, of course, I was given the opportunity to do 4 for each internal and external, but on those internal ones, I think you need to start to develop some buckets of where that technology is going to fit. Not just is it an internal tool, but what's it going to do for you, your team, and again, for your clients. And so some of those buckets are, you need to communicate internally and with clients. You need to schedule your time and work. You need to create recurring work, because that's our life, is recurring work in the accounting and bookkeeping field. And you need a bucket for how you are going to share internally and with your clients as well. So I just put in a little summary of that because I think that it's important that you segment not just as an internal, but then what's its purpose going to be in there? What are the buckets that it's going to fill? We can move on now if you want.
Well, so, I really like having this conversation with you, Kelly, because you have put a lot of thought into vendor relationships. And so because of the way that you spend part of your time in that role of feedback and development and as the accounting voice, you had an opportunity that, many maybe have not to the same degree to be able to have these kinds of relationships with sponsors, or with solutions. So do you want to share some of your advice that you have when you're working with some of these vendors?
Yeah. And so what was interesting, I got the unique opportunity, not because I'm brighter than anybody else, just because I was there sooner. I was in the right place at the right time. And you and Heather have done the same thing. You did a lot of work in the beginning with some of these app partners to make our friends' lives, our clients' lives better. We spent a lot of upfront time for free, AKA, working with some of these app partners. And then those relationships deepened because their user base broadened and now they needed more from us. So full transparency, this is paid work for me with app partners because it gives me great opportunity to not just make the apps better for me, but for the wider group of people that I absolutely adore, accounting professionals. And if I can make their lives better, and still, I mean, I'm not, like hanging around being a trust fund baby, although that is my goal to be my next career is trust fund baby. I still need to make a living at doing this, but it's a great living because it's a give back situation to our community. And the apps are growing in the direction we all want them to, which has been a great ride. And you two do the same kind of thing. I think there's a couple of things with your vendor partnerships, not just for the likes of us that work with them, but for all of our accounting friends as well, is that you need to collaborate with those vendor partners and you need them to be transparent about some of their practices or where they're located or what their support systems look like. Transparency is important, that they get the word out on how they collaborate. And I use an app evaluation form for this. So do we want to talk about that app evaluation form?
Yes, I think that would be fascinating to talk about your app evaluation form because I love it that you have one. And so, Kelly, can you share with us what all you include on that app evaluation form? And then actually, like, why did you originally create this form? What drove that need?
Okay, so I created this form because I am representing, it is my name behind some of this, I call it advocacy work. It's my name behind some of that advocacy work. And I am not putting my name into an app or behind an app because somebody else thinks it's great or the app itself thinks it's great. I need to know a lot of detail before I'm going to put myself out there. And I need to know that it fits certain criteria that are important to me. And this is criteria that I feel should be important to all of us who use, whether we're accounting professionals or SMBs. And I don't anticipate that anybody else is going to have, well, you two may, as in-depth a form. And there are a couple of my app partners on here, and they can tell you it takes at least an hour to complete my form. And there is the option to come back to it because some of the questions they really need to think about. When they do that form, then they also have a way to make some front-facing statements. So a lot of us on this call today are not going to have a form like this, and you're not going to ask your app partners. Somebody made a really great point. They said app partners aren't going to fill out these forms for everybody. So as long as some of us are doing it, but app partners should have a lot of the information on their website or as white papers. And so here's what I do. Here's the short version. One of the questions starts with who they are. Why did they start this app? What problems did it solve? And what is the owner's involvement and background? It's always interesting to see what the problem they think they're solving is and what their background is. Then there is a really big section on security. What's the log out time from inactivity? Is it on an app store? Is it on the Google store? Where is data saved is a big one. What does their two-factor authentication look like? Do they have it? Is it an authenticator or are they shipping the codes around? Or do they have multiple options? What is the sustainability of their business model? I don't want to get behind an app and tell my friends and the accounting community that it's awesome and they don't have any financial viability, or they don't have a plan on how they can sustain themselves for longer than 3 years. So there's some questions around that. I like to know something about their corporate values. I want to know about their pricing structure. I want to know what their support channels look like, what countries it's available in, and what their marketing channels are. So it's a comprehensive form, and I didn't actually even cover off everything, but I'm going to put into the chat the basic questions of it so that you can start to think about the things you should be thinking about when you're implementing cloud technology. So hopefully I didn't just go over the top there.
You did a
Not
great
at all.
job. Yeah, these are excellent questions. And we have got Jody who said, are the vendors actually completing these forms? And you answered that. And I think that maybe the next question would be, does it say something about the apps when they don't fill out the forms?
Is this some,
Go ahead,
I have
Heather.
I have a follow-up question to that too. And are you asking, are these the vendors that you're working with that are filling it out, or are these apps that you're actually going to be implementing in your business?
It's a little bit outside of the accounting space. I don't necessarily put them through the rigors of this. I do an evaluation on apps like probably most of us on the call are doing. I go to their website and I vet them. And I added one today for taking my blogs and turning them into audio. I probably didn't even vet that one nearly as much. But if I'm going to represent an app to the accounting community, or if I'm going to put a client into an app, that's a pretty weighty evaluation that's going to happen. To answer Jody's question, this is paid engagement with me, Jody. It is for apps that I have, this is for apps that want the possibility of me advocating for them or doing I do some work in the background on product development and marketing's accounting speak, we'll call it. So if they want to come into my world at all, they have to fill out this form before we move on to the next stage of, are we going to work together? Do I think accounting firms are going to send out these forms? No, this is because I work with the apps. I have that special advantage. But do I think you need to know the answer to some of these questions? 100%. So see where you can find these answers, or copy and paste exactly what I put into there and send that out to the salespeople when they want to sell you an app. Lift my stuff, man. Take it. I am not here just to be the one doing all of this. I want all of you to have success with apps not being fly-by-nighters, we'll call it. So take my stuff and use it out there. Let's lift the whole industry up with it.
I agree. I mean, I think that that's part of having educational moments like this, is to say, in your case, Kelly, yes, these forms are when you're working directly with the solution, but then in other cases, you've got apps that, like you said, you're connecting for your clients. And in those cases, you still want to have some of the answers to these questions. These are some of these questions, like you said, maybe you're going to be able to find them on their website, but if you don't, these are worth asking.
We should have white papers on this. If they haven't created a white paper on this, then I'm not sure I would move forward with some of those apps. The bigger apps in our industry definitely have white papers on all of those questions. Right. And our friend Sam of Swissnet is making a good point. He does this as much as they can outside of an NDA. Sam, I do an NDA right at the start of the process. And if they want to send me one before they fill out their form, then that's fine too. I'd prefer if they need theirs. So that is part of the process before we get down this rabbit hole in NDA. Because I do ask some financial information and some proprietary code information. And yeah, for sure, there has to be some confidentiality there. So I think at some point we're actually going to move into the tech stacks though, right?
Well, let's look at it.
I got way off.
Here we go. So Kelly's internal workflow, her internal tech stack. Here it is. So this is, of course, probably some of the things that you're using, but you definitely called out these particular solutions, which one of them is the reason that Hector's with us today.
Yeah, so do I get to talk about the stack now?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay. So what I want to say is I am constantly iterating on not necessarily my tech stack. I vet pretty thoroughly, and then I actually don't abandon them if they are doing the right things for me. I don't move on to the shiny ones very easily. What I do find myself doing all the time is iterating on my processes that I use them for. So 17 Hats is an all around, you could run a solo to 3-person firm on 17 Hats. It has everything that you need in it, right? It's got scheduler, it's got questionnaires, it's got contracts, it's got rock solid workflows. You can't run a firm necessarily on it though, but for onboarding and all of that kind of stuff, I love it. I love the automation that it has and how it moves processes along. And I use 17 Hats for, let's go, time is a weird continuum now, but let's go 4 or 5 years. And then I really like Typeform for the end user experience and for the conditional logic. So yes, Heather.
Can you back up just a minute and tell us what each one of these apps actually does for your business? And
Sure.
yeah,
So,
sorry.
No, it's okay.
So for those that might not be familiar with what they do.
Okay, so 17 Hats, the short version, what I'm using it for now is essentially, it's a big part of my onboarding workflow. It does the contracting, it drips out the campaigns, the emails, the next things that people need to do are getting dripped out of 17 Hats.
Does it do the proposal too? Like, can you do the contract? Yeah, okay.
Yep, you can do all of that in there. Financial Sense is my practice management app. That is where all of the task lists are. The client communications are now in Financial Sense. The team communications, by team, I mean Marissa, my gigantic team of 1. And so Marissa and I were using Slack for a lot of our communications. We have now moved that into Financial Sense and the occasional text. So we are not really using Slack internally anymore. It's just the 2 of us. Almost all of it is in Financial Sense. And those run communications that we have outside of that, like the other day, she was just doing some great stuff. I texted her that I appreciated her. That's a little more human than putting it into Financial Sense. So Financial Sense runs all of the work, all of the client communications, and it does all of that for me. Acuity is my scheduler. I picked Acuity for reasons that I have no idea anymore, but they are all great. If you do not have an online scheduler right after this call, go get one. Biggest game changer in your business. It doesn't matter which one. Almost all of them are fabulous, whether it's Calendly, TidyCal, Acuity, 17 Hats has a great one built right in. Just go pick one and start using it. And what's weird is I did not roll it out to my existing clients. I rolled it out basically, to app partners, and I do coaching for accounting professionals, all that kind of stuff. And then I had a client who we were going back and forth on timing. And then finally I just put the link in my email. I said, here, Sherry, just pick something. And she sent me back an email right away. She says, why didn't I know about this? So even the clients that you think, they don't like technology, they don't want to go back and forth by email either. And for crying out loud, put it behind a paywall, meaning have a lot of your schedules money wise, right? Get paid for it. I have one, I have all different ones. So, and Typeform is basically, it's a form builder. The big use case scenario is for my app partners because there's all kinds of conditional logic. So if an app partner is filling it out and they say that they are the owner of the firm or the founder, then I say, do you have partners? And it opens up other things. It takes my discovery form. If they tell me that they are not an incorporated business, it takes them to an ending that says we can't bring value to your business. So type form just has such power with the conditional logic, the logic jumps, the multiple endings that I use that. And then there is Write Tool. How on earth do I describe Write Tool? So my line on Write Tool is it creates the QuickBooks desktop efficiency we crave in the QBO that we love. And I can come back to Write Tool in a few minutes, but I'm gonna put in a quick thing on basically what I'm using my tech stack for. Am I over putting things in the chat?
Never. I think that
Okay.
our community loves to hear the why. And so you digest it sometimes internally, visually, and then here you're providing some detail.
Can I also, I want to give a little relatable tidbit. I wish we could see, like, if everybody could put their hands up here, but I'm sure that most of us have a piece of technology that makes us feel like a dum-dum. And so I would love to get a vote on if everybody has something that just makes them cringe. I am 100% a Googler. I came from the marketing world, so I was on Mac and Apple. So I moved directly to, when I got a PC and changed teams, I moved into the Google world. Microsoft wins over Kelly every single time. So I just want to let that know, because that out there, because I love my technology, but that does not mean I am not getting kicked to the curb with lots of it as well. We all struggle with technology, and so my nemesis is Microsoft. Honestly, even just trying to log in for me it doesn't think like I think. So right back to before where we started, you've got to find the apps that think like you think, that have that same, not just the intellectual mindset, but the visual interaction works for you. Okay. But I see that people want to know what Write Tool does. So should I do a quick chat on Write Tool?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
let's do it.
Okay. So Write Tool is a Chrome extension. And the short version is that it creates all kinds of killer efficiency within your QuickBooks Online. It's a Chrome extension, so it adds little buttons, it does little fun things in there, and I have a list for you. So I call it my QuickBooks Online Unugger. The memo has probably gone out that I love QuickBooks Online, but when you are working in it, there are definitely those moments where you just go, ugh, right? And so oh yes, somebody is right. It is not just, it is Chromium based. It's not just a Chrome extension. It works in a whole bunch of the browsers. So, but I use Chrome. So we're going to, go all about Kelly here. So it takes away all of these kinds of things. Anybody open a transaction, need to look at the audit trail or the journal entry behind the transaction, and the next thing you know, I call it the Hotel California. You're stuck in that transaction. You can go back and forth between the expense and the journal entry, but you can't get out of it. My best practice was to duplicate the tab and then muck around in the audit trail and then go back and close out of the expense or whatever transaction. Write Tool duplicates your tabs for you. So where you should be duplicating tabs, Hector and Mark have decided to do it for you. It's automatic. You can create transactions on the fly. You can delete like a mad person. There is some batch deleting. But here's the one, and again, I love QuickBooks Online. Do not take any of this as a slag at all. It's changed my life. It's changed my client's life. And so I'm not slagging here. I have wanted reconciled, the word reconciled or an R on the face of my transactions since the day I left QuickBooks Desktop, which was 2012. You cannot tell when you open a transaction whether it's been reconciled So you don't know what your next steps are if it's a rogue transaction. You can't just willy-nilly go and delete things. And then in order to find out if it's reconciled, you have to go into that audit trail, very often get stuck, just to find out if it's reconciled. Right tool puts reconciled, the word, right on the face of the transaction. I don't know if that's a big deal for anybody, but that is a huge deal for me. This week, so chart of accounts, filter by account type. So I am working right now in a remediation file where I need to see the different income accounts quite quickly. I can see all the income accounts just by filtering. Whereas before you had to go through all of these gymnastics to try and figure out so is it an equity account? I just want to see the equity accounts. And my friend Esther and I were working the other day on something and I couldn't find, opening balance equity. And then by filtering by equity, and then Esther looks and she says, there it is in the type, it's opening balance equity. The owner changed the name of the account from opening. Did any of that make sense, or am I just too excited and going
Totally
way
did.
off on a tangent?
But we have to move on because we only have 14 minutes left and you have to get through your external tech stack too.
Okay, somebody asked if I have the paid version. Yes. It is almost always a policy of mine to pay for apps if I love them. If they're not hack apps, then I'm paying for them. And don't get upset with apps if the free version doesn't do all the things that you want it to.
I agree with that.
And I am
think the
sure-
free version is often that introductory.
And I'm sure that Hector would love to give anybody a demo, or you can head over to YouTube because I'm guessing that at the Right Tool website. In fact, I know there's videos because I'm on the Right Tool website, which I did copy the link in there if people want to learn more about it. So thank you.
Okay, great.
So Kelly, I love your perspective on vetting apps and your questionnaire. So we've been talking about internal, but I want to move over to external and ask you, when you're working with clients, do you have a set of apps that you utilize?
Do we go to the next page to see them?
Yes, here they are.
Okay, so I love QuickBooks Online, but I want to superstate for the record, I actually love all of the GLs. I love QuickBooks Desktop. I love QuickBooks Online. I love Xero. I love FreshBooks. I love Sage, which is a Canadian thing. I know some of the Americans are going, what? It's also a UK thing. So I love them all, but I'm a micro firm. I had to pick one and run with it. And I had to pick one that suited the way that I think best, that could accomplish my goals as a business owner and the way that I served my clients. And for me, that was QuickBooks Online. I also do use FreshBooks for billing in multi-currency, but QuickBooks Online is what is supported for my clients from our perspective. I use Dext, which is a document management app so that my clients can upload things. I call that our filing cabinet in the sky. Just like when you would share things in paper folders and they would bring you the folder. So there's sales are BCC'd from QuickBooks Online, my client sales, my sales, BCC'd from QuickBooks Online into Dext as well, so that we have a full picture of all of the source documents as they stood in the beginning of time in one place, and then Dex downloads automatically into my clients' folders. So G Drive or Dropbox, I don't care which one they pick. It downloads into their folders, because in the past, the clients would give you the folders with all the paper stuff in it, and then we would use it all, and then we would give it back to them. We didn't hang on to their source documents. Sometime along the road of digital transformation, we have started hanging on to every piece of digital thing that our clients ever gave us. And that works for a lot of people. It's not going to work for me. I don't want to have the security issues of looking after it. I want graceful endings so that when I do a lot of short-term work, but think of this for yourself. If the what ifs when clients are leaving, I want them to have everything in their hands in real time at all times, so that if I win the lottery tomorrow or become that trust fund recipient, they're good to go. They've got everything they need back to them, not me having to get it all back to them. And it's not taking up it's not digital clutter for me. So that's Dex. Pluto is a payment platform. So you can pay vendors on it. No, Pluto is not just Canadian, it's international. And it is an amazing user experience. In Kelly's humble opinion, the best payment processor out there, but also it multi-purpose. So I collect my monthly recurring revenue on it. And so my clients are all set up in Canada. Those are called pre-authorized debit agreements in Canada. I believe they're in the US, they're ACH, they're automated. They're coming to me every month through Pluto. But not only that, if I have out of scope work with clients, I can actually, it syncs directly with QuickBooks Desktop Zero and QuickBooks Online. My out of scope work, I can collect on that right away as well. So you can pull the money that they owe you for out of scope work off of those PAD agreements in real time as well. So no receivables, even if you are doing all kinds of weird work, which we all do, right? Does Pluto have approval features? Yes, Sandy, it has all kinds of levels of approval. It also, if you are using Dex, sending the image over to QuickBooks Online, it lands in Pluto. Pluto sends the image off to the vendor that you are paying as well, so they can see what bills you're paying and sends a notice out that the payment is coming. Dumb name though. I don't know why they named it Pluto. It makes me a little crazy, but what can you do about it? Okay, and then Rewind. So Rewind is my backup app for QuickBooks Online. It also does a number of other programs. So it especially e-commerce. So if you have e-commerce clients, Rewind backs up their stores essentially and their websites. So Rewind is the first thing I attach onto a client file. And then, especially if it's a remediation file, not that remediation files can go south while you're working on them, but Rewind backs up the file in real time. And so some of you are kind of saying to yourself, well, QuickBooks is backing up my data. Yes, QuickBooks is backing up the data, but it's as a whole. It is all the data from all of the files. It's not an individual file backup. And my payment, my clients, who pays for it, it looks like this. This is why I'm confused about whether I should call it internal or external. If my clients are deeply involved in the file and they are the ones most likely to have things go south, they pay for it. If I am or Marissa are more deeply involved in the file, or it's a remediation file where I'm taking on this cleanup work, I pay for it. So I'm not sure whether, but it backs up not just the entire file, it backs it up transactionally. So if something goes wrong with an app integration and it is inventory, you can strip the inventory back out, for example. Again, it's like Right Tool. I could go on for a very long time of all of the features of it, but in the meantime, I will put in a little quick thing into the chat. Did I make it in under the timing mark?
You did good. I had to go unmute myself. So, yeah, I love that you're sharing about Rewind. And I think that, many of us loved being able to use Chronobooks, so much so that Intuit acquired it. And it's part of the QuickBooks Online Advanced. But there's still this huge need for being able to go back and look at prior versions of information. So I love that Rewind is in the space and continues to build out, like you said, e-commerce is another area where they're creating those backups. Things go wrong.
They are also doing it. There's a product called GitHub that they're doing. And yeah, I'm trying to copy in my stuff into the chat, but I think I've been cut off the chat. I can't copy in a few of these details. Yeah, okay, so I think I did make it in time though.
You
Right.
did. You
I
did
think you did
fantastic.
great. So I want to say thank you, Kelly, for joining us. And anybody who wants to be able to reach out to you, you have been gracious enough to share contact information. Most of the people here are friends, so they might already have this. But
think
if
so.
not, I mean, the resources that you were sharing are fantastic. And I love it that you joined us. Absolutely. do.
Well, thank you for having me so much.
And Heather, you said you've got a special thing that you want to share. So do you want me to keep sharing my slides or do you want to take over?
I will go ahead and I will, if you want to, I could either you could share or I could share.
I
Either
can
way.
stop or I can be your Vanna.
You can be my Vanna, that works.
All right. Okay.
All right, so yeah, so we do our coolest thing. We've kind of went on hiatus for a little bit, but I had to share this because I actually learned this from one of our Woodard members. I learned about this tool. It's called Magical, and it truly is magical. I use it after I was introduced to it. I use it all the time. What it does is it actually allows you to create shortcuts for snippets of text that then you can pre-fill into different fillable fields on the interwebs in a browser. The other thing that allows you to do is you can actually set up transfers from one tab to another right within Magical so that you can actually transfer information. So think about an address from, and I'm actually going to show you this on the slide, the next slide. So this is a browser extension, so you can get it. I got it in Chrome. I don't have time to demo it to you guys, but there is a tutorial when you first sign up for the free browser app, but it's pretty awesome. One of the ways that I use it is as the editor of the Woodard report, I actually have to copy code into every article for our keywords. And I was able to create a shortcut, which is 3 characters. So when I go into the little area where I have to put my code, I just type the 3 characters and it pastes it automatically. So I don't have to go and copy and paste. It's a way to create incredible efficiency when you're working in the cloud. So what you can see on this screenshot is we're creating, this is how I can create like an automated email, right? Which will actually grab fields from another tab within your browser. And Vanna, if you could go to the next slide, please. You can see here, I've gone into QuickBooks Online, the sample company, and I've actually mapped the different fields in the customer record into Magical by adding them. So it's really easy to do. I did this actually while I was meeting with Liz and Kelly earlier today. It took me about 10 minutes. So now once I've done that and I've added those variables on the QuickBooks side, now I can go over, if you want to go to the next slide, go over my Google contacts. And then what I can do is I can type the code, which is 2 // and then I type in email, and you can see that it's got the email address from that open tab within QuickBooks. So you can think about the intense, efficiency that you can have when you are actually trying to transfer data from one place to another by utilizing this free tool, Magical. The other thing that you can do, if you go to the next slide, is what I was talking about where, oops, it's not in there. Oh, it's not in there, is I could, you can create those little, and actually I'm going to share my screen so I can show people. So let me go in to my screen and I'll show you exactly how it works. So let me escape out of here and you can see my little magical thing over here. And you can see that I've created this one that's firm. And what the shortcut trigger is, the word is -firm. And when I use that, it's going to copy this field into wherever I am. So if you think about, if I go into an email and then I compose it, right? And then I put in firm. Let me go in and compose and I put in firm. Watch what happens. It just copies.
Oh, fun.
Right? Super fun. So anyway, that was my cool thing this week. I hope you guys like it. It's called Magical. It is a browser extension. So if you just go into the Chrome store, you can go ahead and get that and start using it. It's pretty neat. Pretty neat tool.
That is super cool. So I typed it in, but I want to tell you, I'm right now in the process of my daughter, who's super amazing, is applying to various scholarships, and it's such a pain. Oh my gosh, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. So this is perfect.
Exactly.
The
Just
best
map
timing.
it and go back, map it and go back. It's pretty awesome. So what I would say, and I have not done this, I have not done Kellie's due diligence, and I have not gone in and looked into the security of this. So for example, I was in the sample company showing you, I leave it to you guys to be the professionals and to go out and make sure that you're vetting the security and that you feel comfy cozy about using this tool with your accounting software and your client sensitive data.
Great disclaimer. So we have more coming up. So on the 21st of March, we're going to have a campfire chat with Keeper. So Ben Stein is phenomenal. He's going to join us to be able to share some insights into Keeper and what all it does. It's a, it does review of QuickBooks. It also is a workflow tool. So there's lots of things that are built inside of Keeper. The other thing we're going to do is have a deep dive of Rewind. So they will be joining us towards the end of March. And then April, we're going to be having a campfire chat with Swissnet. So being able to follow up with them, what's been happening. And then Kelly Gonzalez is going to join us in May. So she's going to do another tech stack firm view, which is awesome to have all of these different perspectives.
We have two powerhouse Kellys on Happy Hour this year. We're very happy. So again, I pasted into the chat earlier. If you want to be spotlighted on Happy Hour and share your tech stack, we would love to have you on. I'm just going to share that link one more time so people can get it. Hold the phone. I'm going to go grab it.
And special thank you to Hector for joining us today.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Hector. We adore you.
And there was a lot of interest in Right Tools. You know, that's something that we all struggle with, is moving around, and, you know, we're performing the same actions over and over again. So no matter how you are utilizing QuickBooks, you know, it's probably going to follow a particular format. And I know that my good friend Anne, she uses it for reports over and over again. She's pulling the same reports. And so she's got a group that she'll pull in each time that she opens up a QuickBooks file. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Yep.
Well, thank you to everyone for joining. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Hopefully you've got some evening plans that maybe involve drinks like me. And we will be seeing you all soon. Bye, friends.